Greetings, and welcome to another edition of Traditional Signwriting with John Boy. In this video, we will be looking at signwriting references in the movies and on television. We will not be concerning ourselves so much with the on-screen prop side of signwriting as we will with references to actual signwriting characters and processes as portrayed on screen. Such references are unfortunately few and far between, but they do exist, and any known clips are documented here for posterity, along with some explanatory notes by John Boy, a professional time-served signwriter with over 4 decades of experience in the trade. So, if you're sitting comfortably, we'll begin. Badlands, the 1973 movie starring Martin Sheen, features a character called Holly, played by Sissy Spacek, who is a little girl whose daddy was a sign painter. Set in 1950s South Dakota, we first see this sign painter, who is played by Warren Oates, in his backyard, surrounded by many examples of his work and preparing a 2-inch brush for use by shaking the turpentine out onto the ground. When quizzed by his daughter on the possible environmental effects of this action, he then proceeds to direct the solvent spray at her, and after chasing her, we see him starting to touch up a signboard for John Deere tractors. This is quite a clever way to allow an actor to apply paint with the bare minimum of training in signwriting, implying that the sign has been taken down for repair. We next see Warren's character in a scene, where accompanied by his paint-splattered truck, he plies his trade on a billboard for Kautz's animal feeds. Here, Jack Fisk, the art director for the movie, describes the scene.
We shot a billboard scene in Badlands, and I remember the morning we were going out to shoot it. I had built the billboard and erected everything, and Joan Mosine did the painting, and I'd worked with her on Messiah of Evil earlier, where we painted many murals. And Terry said, "Could you take one of the panels out of the billboard so I can see through it?" And we did, and it became very effective because instead of shooting against a flat wall for an hour or however long the scene is, we were able to shoot Warren painting on the billboard, but see, thousands of feet beyond.
This movie, by Terrence Malick, was loosely based on real-life events, and the movie itself went on to inspire Bruce Springsteen to pen the song Nebraska. Next up, we have the 1976 feature film, Bound for Glory. In this biopic of the great Woody Guthrie, David Carradine portrays Guthrie as a singer-songwriter-signwriter, painting signs and making music during America's pre-war Dust Bowl period. In this first scene, we see Woody hand-lettering a self-promotional sign using the cutting round method of signwriting. That is to say, he is applying red paint on a whiteboard by painting outside of the letters, thus leaving the letters white. From a signwriter's point of view, this method, in this particular instance, does not really make a lot of sense, as it would require a lot more unnecessary preparation before the actual lettering could commence. However, it would appear that our protagonist is using a piece of recycled white pasteboard, and the fact that he is using this overcomplicated approach to what should be straightforward lettering is actually a clever cinematic precursor to our following clip.
You could be making regular money with sign painting, Woody, if you tried.
Just ain't no sense in harping on it, Mary. Do no good.
The following scene shows Guthrie lettering a shop front, again by cutting round a white background with red. This time, however, the cutting round method is the most sensible approach to this particular signage, because the entire shop front has already been painted white. The remainder of the scene shows an unfortunately all too common theme, where a self-entitled control freak of a customer refuses to heed the advice of a skilled craftsman. In this case, to avoid paying for the work.
What in the hell are you doing anyway? I told you I wanted white on black.
Yeah, I thought you'd like red better. Shows up from a mile away.
I asked for white on black, and you give me this red bitch thing? Was you planning on getting paid for this?
Well, I was planning on it.
Well, just plan away, Guthrie. What am I supposed to do with this red bitch anyways?
Well, Why don't you fold it 5 ways and stick it where the sun don't shine?
I'll tell you what else I don't need. I don't need none of your damn lips neither. That's what I don't need, Guthrie. Ain't you kids got nothing better to do than a lollygag around here?
And now for something completely different.
So, you were promised some Monty Python, and some Python you shall have. But not this one. Instead, we are going to the opening scene of The Meaning of Life, where we see a signwriter adding the name of a large company's latest buyout to the long list of previous acquisitions. It can be clearly seen here that all the previous business names on the board have not been hand-lettered, and considering the film's era of production, it is highly likely that the rest of the lettering was done with dry transfer lettering, which would itself have been no mean feat. This scene illustrates quite well the utter pandemonium in which signwriters have traditionally had to keep a level head and carry on working. We will now be transporting ourselves back to Renaissance Italy, where we will witness Michelangelo Buonarroti and Michelangelo da Caravaggio using methods which have since become synonymous with the signwriting trade. In the opening credits of the 1986 movie Caravaggio, the background shows the very first thing that a signwriter is taught when beginning an apprenticeship, which is the process for an even paint distribution, by the time-proven method of laying on, crossing and laying off. This can take many months to master, but it should be mastered to the point where it can be achieved without any run sags or brush marks. Moving on, to the 1965 epic The Agony and the Ecstasy, we see Charlton Heston as Michelangelo Buonarroti, in the early stages of creating his masterpiece on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. In this scene, we see the master drawing the outline of the artwork onto a paper template, while the apprentices get to work on creating a pounce pattern, by pricking holes in another paper template. And after multiple attempts at mixing an ochre color to Michelangelo's exacting standards, we see the apprentices perform the image transfer process, by dabbing the pierced template with a muslin pounce bag, filled with crushed charcoal, thus leaving a visual guide for the master to begin painting. Our next clip is from the 1980 TV movie with the self-explanatory title of Enola Gay, The Men, The Mission, The Atomic Bomb, which stars Patrick Duffy as Colonel Paul Tibbets.
Hey! What is that?
The scene shows the painting of the nose art on the fuselage of this famous B-29 bomber by a ground crew member, who presumably for cinematic effect, has decided to outline the entire name before filling in the
Check
letters.
it out. He's in the bomb bay.
Do you authorize putting that funny name on my B-29?
Bob, what you have to understand is that this plane is government issue. It's assigned to you.
When compared to photographs of the original Enola Gay lettering, it can be seen that the movie version is an extremely accurate recreation of the 1945 letterforms. And despite the curious extended cross-stroke on the G, and the addition of a white outline, they have really managed to capture the period styling of the lettering.
By the way, that funny name, who's Enola Gay?
It's my mother.
Having segued into the small screen section of our video, we find ourselves looking at an extremely romanticized interpretation of Golden Year's life in a post-Thatcher Northern England, via the BBC's lightweight and rose-tinted comedic glasses. In this episode of The Last of the Summer Wine, we are first introduced to the Foggy character, who apparently is a time-served signwriter, who has been shaped by his post-war national service in the army.
It is with confidence that I commend to your care old Foggy Dewhurst, one of the finest corporal signwriters with whom it's ever been my privilege to serve, a master of the Gothic script and a keen leader of men.
Brian Wilde's character first appears with his collection of hand-painted army door signs, which he describes, in printer's nomenclature, as being of narrow format. But unfortunately, we only get a glancing view of these signs, and, as far as we are aware, this origin story will never be mentioned again.
Keep your eye on that. It's a lifetime collection of hand-painted Army office door signs, narrow format. That's my equipment list now. Let's see what's in here now. Oh, no, that's a suggested daily schedule. What's a performance? Here, let's have a look at this one. Oh, have you finished? Did you enjoy those?
Unfortunately, this platform's copyright policies have ruled that in order for this video to be viewable in this United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, I must first remove a certain clip from the comedy series Dad's Army, which referenced the new signwriting on Jones's van. I can only apologize to my UK viewers and hope that this omission does not in any way ruin the overall video. This next clip, a televised cigar commercial, is an idyllic portrayal of what it was like to be a signwriter in the early 1980s. One of a series of advertisements, this relatively clever yet chocolate box image of a traditional signwriter belies the true Dickensian conditions which many tradespersons had to deal with in the final decades of the 20th century.
Falstaff, a surprisingly long smoke for its size.
Well, that's almost it for this video, except to remind you to consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. You never know, you might just learn something. Oh. And let's not forget this guy from early Sesame Street.
I'm going to paint an 11. 11.
If you can think of any other signwriting references that have not been included here, please put them in the comments.
$11. I'm going to paint a 4.
And yes, that is Rizzo from Greece.
See? 4. Ha. 4.
That's all, folks.